time where we are struggling as a nation, somebody somewhere is saying 80 million go this way, 80 million, this one go this way. 8 billion naira, Lubinko.
Oh, you see, that's just the accountant general. Don't be surprised that virtually everybody that heads one parastatal in Nigeria is culpable of this. You see surveyors, they have virtually half of the land in their states. The surveyor generals, that's what I mean. You see accountant general, you see auditor general. Most of the times you realize that Nigerians just want to attain these positions for personal aggrandizement and not for delivering the tenets of what they should deliver being in that office. So I'm not surprised. It's just like some would say any lemon bani barao, it's just been caught. Yes, like you said, allegedly. And the only, questioning is easy. If you have a plain hands, you definitely would not be scared of questioning. You understand? After all, these things happen. As long as you know you have a clean hands, there's nothing that should scare you. And now that he's been arrested, I'm very sure he's arrested not to be locked up, just arrested to be questioned. So the questioning process is still on. Let's not. But like I said, is the one apprehended today, is the one we're talking about today. I can tell you for free, 95% of those holding these positions across the states and in the federal government, there's no difference at all.
Harsh reality.
The fact that people just want to go into offices just for the name. So I was reading something in a particular group chat one day like that, and I saw this poster of somebody who was supposedly wanting to go for a particular office, and people are already saying things like, start to respect them more. It will be so person very soon. I'm like, respect what? This person is just going to be a public servant. Why you? I think this whole ideology of respect them, treat them a certain way. Fine, I'm not saying do not respect them, but know when to call them out, know when to hold them accountable.
It's quite funny. I was with some of my friends.
Let's not even talk about respect.
I think, was it last week? We were just all seated, drinking and talking. And one of us who is a professional was like, I should just attain this position. That would be the highest, the peak of this career if he were to work as a public servant or civil servant. And was talking about how he would make money and all that.
Can you imagine?
And I just said it there and then that if that is the reason you want to get there, may God not allow you to get there. And everybody in the room were like,
yes,
what are you doing with this guy? Like one of his friends, are you still moving with this guy? If it's me, I would have. I said, but if you're going to get there to serve the country honestly, may God get you there. But if I repeated that like twice or three. I know everybody was uncomfortable with what I'm saying, but that's the reality of what we're facing in the country.
Absolutely.
You go to the ministries, let's not even talk about the higher positions, from the grade, from the senior civil servants now, the grade 10 or 8 or thereabout. They're only awaiting their turn. And that's why you see that someone could get queried for not carrying the bag of our boss while our boss was walking into the office. We've really lost it as a people. And like I would always say, I think it still all stems down to leadership. Because someone like me, I can imagine a boss telling me or querying me because I'm not carrying a bag. I would probably want to go all the lengths. And why would you want to go all the lengths? Because you believe there's a system on ground that has been effected or put in place by the leadership to protect such and that's why I would always blame everything on leadership.
Leadership. I mean, at this time where we find ourselves, this kind of conversations, and to think that the average person on the streets, what you hear them say is our national cake, give me so I enter, I won't go chop am. This mentality be taking us steps backward, honestly, I must say.
It's the popularity of it, and I don't
the
blame
reason-
the common man for thinking that way. Because
reason
over
is
time, that's the
simple.
popularity that we've had, the mindset. That
The
we've had.
reason is simple. For all those who've been there, who've been doing that, has there been any price to pay for that?
Absolutely not.
The answer is no. The situation in the country is Kinshatilo. I was somewhere yesterday, and two young men were fighting seriously because of money. I mean, we're talking about clients paid $8,000.
You'll be wondering what.
I had some new languages yesterday.
Of course, because we already know the kind of conversation you're talking about.
They talk about Pika, and the funny thing is, there was this old man. I'm very sure that man should be in his 70s. He's trying to, settle the risk for them. See, you guys are not stealing. That money is nobody's money.
Can you imagine?
And I even have a son that does this. You are talking about just this little token now. Tomorrow, don't worry. You guys would probably have to share bigger one.
Can you imagine?
And
we already know what that is, and
I wept inside.
It's worth weeping. It's worth weeping for.
It's very sad that these days, when things happen, people just want to look for one reason or the other to just justify their actions.
Like Lubinko said, it goes back to leadership. The fact that the leadership has had this rot for so long, and now the common man has felt it for such a long time. It's not like whatever you do to make money,
as long as you
make the money and you're okay in Nigeria, then you're good to go. And that's what the common man wants. I just want to be able to make money, take care of myself, my family.
It's
a dreadful
situation. You see young boys being raided. They're not being raided to be apprehended. They are being raided so that the share of what they have in their pocket can be given.
Under the guise of bail money.
Not even bail money now. Bail is different because bail is free ordinarily. But you see, when you see some young boys stopped, their vehicle being stopped and being ransacked, it's not because
they're suspected of anything, right?
It's because it goes beyond suspicion. Those stopping them actually know that these guys are culpable, but they're not stopping them to arrest them. They're stopping them to negotiate with them.
What can you give me?
Out of the cake, what's our own share? And that's why you see there's so much boldness about those things. At times, even these perpetrators have soldiers and police guiding them, being there,
The audience and all of that. Quite sad, very, very sad. It is 7:45 on Women Radio WFM 91.7, and this is the newspaper review on Women Radio 91.7. My name is Esther Alaribe, and I have with me Somto Titilayo Ajama. Our analyst for the morning is Olariwaju Opideyi Lubinko. And on the newspaper review, we get to review the dailies across different Nigerian newspapers. We get to talk about them, not just because we enjoy talking, but because we want to provide solutions and see way forward here in Nigeria. Nigeria is home to many, home to me personally. So we really want to ensure that we are doing everything in our little space, in our little corners at the grassroots to see that Nigeria actually works for each and every one of us. The text and WhatsApp lines are open 070-317-56537. 070-317-56537. All right, Tonto.
One would wonder why it seems like I like to talk about the ASU situation. Because it doesn't give me any kind of joy. It doesn't give me
talk about joy.
I take no joy in talking continuously about this. I have to say that. Now, this one from the Daily Trust newspaper says, ASU strike, travelers stranded as students block Shagamu Benin Expressway. Now, if you've been on that expressway, you know that Nadia activity they do. All right, so this goes on to say travelers were stranded on Monday as aggrieved students in Ogun State blocked the Shagamu Benin Expressway in protest against the ongoing strike action by members of the Academic Staff Union of Universities, ASU. Now, this is a joint protest, and it had in attendance students from Olabisi Onabanjo University, Agoiwe, Taisholari University of Education, Tasford, Ijago, and Federal University of Agriculture, Funab, Abeokuta. Now, these students blocked the expressway, leaving many people stranded. No going, no coming. It was just a standstill at that time, with placards saying end ASU strike, we're tired of deadlock meetings and all of that. And the spokesman for them, the chairman of National Association of Nigerian Students, is saying that this is a call to attract the attention of the government, saying that it must come to a compromise and reach an agreement to end the ASU strike, because the students are the ones who are facing the biggest consequences the most in this situation. Now, when they are about to go on this strike, a lot of people were saying, oh, I don't advise this, I don't advise this, I don't advise this. Now this is happening.
If you want to talk to me direct. Yes.
Now, you know what I'm talking about.
Talk to me direct. Don't go through the cars. Because I, for one, really did not want the idea of students having to go out to protest.
Yes. You know how your biggest reason was because you never know who will hijack the process.
Yes.
You never know how it starts off with a good cause only to end up one way.
Yeah.
And now people are stranded. People don't know how to move. It's like you go out in the day, you don't know if you will get stranded. You don't know if you get stuck on the road. But is this not enough to let the government know that this is a frustrating situation and something should be done about this immediately? Lobinko.
It's like you've rightly said, it gives no joy. And we're not talking just about the present of Nigeria, we're talking about the future of Nigeria. With what's happening now, for every day there's a strike, the future of Nigeria is tracked backwards for probably 1 month. No, I mean
1 month.
Yes, because when you look at the ripple effect of education, I mean, the likes of us wouldn't be here if not for education, considering where we are coming from, you know, and the truth remains, all of my schools had been the local schools, you know, at times I just get to wonder how in this same Nigeria I went to public school and I come out this way. I mean, from primary school, Maidan, primary school in my 12, secondary school, like Idiri, Ajibala High School, university, Ogun State University, and we're still proud of ourselves. And now some people intentionally, I believe, are killing all that. And let the students protest, please.
So there's this particular headline.
It's the way you said it for me.
Like, quiet.
Yes, let them protest.
So there was this
I
headline
will probably
yesterday.
join them if I know where they're going to.
There was this particular headline yesterday on the Punch newspapers, and this one was where the former Minister of State for Education, Chukwuemeka Nwajuba, said something about his 2 children being affected by the ASU strike.
Yes.
And he went ahead to apologize. I do apologize to Nigerian students because as their minister, I will take responsibility. Please remember that he resigned last week.
Yes.
He did not apologize when he was in office.
Yes.
He resigned his apology.
He will take responsibility for an office you've resigned from.
Yes. I also went ahead to say on behalf of the federal government, I would say please understand what the issues are. He went on to say all my 4 children have passed through Nigerian universities. I still have 2 who are currently at home now because they are all in public university. What does this even mean? Like, does it mean I not talk too much? Even me say they pay me. Is that what it means?
No, not me. They pay. They pay my
children. Okay, not pay me.
But you see the thing, even with the children, when they pay, you know, when you don't already amass some level of funds, your children self at some level they don't need to go school again. They don't need to go school. Just like he's saying, it tells you that when education is only hope for the average Nigerian, and may I add that the quality of this education self. Now and now you're saying that
the education as well is nothing.
It's nothing. But people still want to go to school because they want to acquire the certificate. They want to be able to say that, okay, I passed through institution, I passed through tertiary institutions. So it's just for the education of it, but at the same time for the certification of it. But in as much as whatever reason it is that behind the students wanting to go to school, they have a basic right to education. And if the government cannot as much as fulfill a basic right How about the other things that we're asking for that we know we deserve, but you haven't given to us yet? If you cannot even get the one that you're supposed to have given to us on deadlock for the longest time.
How do you give us
so he bringing his children into the mix? If you ask me, that is just patronizing, because he's trying to act like, oh, I feel it too, my children feel it too, so we're all in the same shoes. But you were the Minister of Education for a while. Just put like 50 million eyes in that while. And it doesn't change anything, because when you were there, you didn't function. Only to now give a statement and say, oh, my children are hurt too, and I take responsibility. Okay, what does that do about it? Do you even have the power to do anything now that you've resigned? Because I think we should just call a spade and stop trying to pad up situations.
Let me add this part to this conversation. So this this former Minister of State for Education, Chukwemeka Nwajuba, also went ahead to say that he's faulting lecturers of state universities who are participating in this ongoing strike by ASUM, saying that state universities have no business in the ongoing strike. He explained that ASU's demand centered on challenges being faced by federal universities. What does it even matter? If something doesn't really affect you, would you actually be on the road or wanted to down tools?
I want to believe that some, if not most, of the state's universities are also affected. Because, someone was talking to me yesterday, a young girl, and she was telling me that some schools are actually not on strike. She mentioned LASU.
Yes.
For instance, the LASU is not on strike. And I want to believe that for the state universities that are probably joined in on the strike, it's simply because they are probably affected. Their welfare is affected, and, yeah, I want to believe so.
Yeah, I think you mentioned at the beginning of this conversation earlier that LASU can fund itself, it has a level of income that it's getting from just the school and all the school extracurricular activities, for lack of a better word. So because of that, they can actually stand as a sovereign entity. But my question now is, how can LASU, a state university, do this and federal universities can't? Or at least if they can, maybe they cannot do it to the point where it really stands on its own as an independent entity. Because for me, this strike does not necessarily reflect whether or not you can pay your bills as a school, whether or not you can feed, whether or not your income versus your expenditure can stand for itself. That's not really my issue here. Is the welfare of the lecturers, which is what brought about this entire MOU, the whole conversation, and then the eventual strike. Because this is where we are, and it feels like because you don't take care of the people who are passing on knowledge to these people, how do you expect that we will do that and do it effectively when we cannot even take care of ourselves and our families? So if you look at it, as Lubinka said, I don't know why I keep quoting him, the ripple effect is horrendous. And it's like the Senate keeps saying, oh, okay, we'll look into it. House of Representatives will look into it. I feel like when they say that they mean it, but they mean it literally. We'll just look into it, like we'll put our eyes on it and carry it.
So
away.
she stopped saying we'll look into it.
Because all they're doing is looking. They're literally doing nothing about it. Probably if they say we will do something about it, I'll not begin to say, okay, maybe, just maybe. But when I hear we'll look into it, I'm already like, no, thank you.
We'll look into it is just in the political parlance another synonym for no comment.
All right.
Apparently.
Nigerians, if you have to protest, please try as much as possible to make sure it is peaceful. No do extra. I know say sometimes aluta agbagba, but don't be extra with it. Definitely. Because you're fighting a just cause. So you do not want to start going down certain lines that's just going to water down the whole idea behind the protest. Yes, because truly sometimes things can get very sour and you won't be able to manage it, and that would not be nice at all, because it's going to be like, see people wait talk say they fight for say they go back to school now. What they do, because this was also one of the things that affected the NSAS protest that people were holding on to, and they were protesting this and they were cooking, they were doing all of that. So people would actually, when people want to make excuses, they actually forget the main thing
and looking for the little things and the things that are not even pertaining to the effects at hand, the cause at hand.
Yeah, so that can actually happen. So
yeah, definitely
Nigerian students, peaceful protest. I'm going to say it again. It is 3 minutes to 8 on Women Radio WFM 91.7, and this is the newspaper review. The newspaper review is where we get to review the dailies and analyze them with our analysts for the morning. Do well to send us your comments, your text, and WhatsApp messages on 070 317 56537 070 317 56537. My name is Esther Alaribe, and I have with me Somto Titilayo Ajama. Our analyst for the morning is Obideyi Olarewaji Lubinko. Now let's go over this one. This one of the Punch newspaper says, sit at home, tension grips Imo, Delta schools, market shutdown. First off, I'm going to start off by saying that this whole sit at home thing in the Southeast is actually crippling the economy. For a region that you know how the Igbo people love business, doing something worth the while, and now people have to sit at home. I hear things like on Mondays they cannot go to their shops, they cannot go to the markets, even schools are scared of having children come to school on Mondays and things like that. It's actually very, very sad. And to think that this thing the issue is staying for so long. Now, this one says the sit-at-home order in Owerri, Imo State on Monday took a different dimension as residents and traders, out of fear of attack by suspected gunmen, scampered for safety. Now, this situation generated anxiety amongst commercial bus drivers and some residents who went out for shopping as they took to their hills. Now, a good number of traders sustained injuries in the course of running for safety. Others had their goods destroyed. Now, when the PRO, the police public relations officer, Michael Abatam, he said that they were investigating the cause of the stampede. Lubinko, this particular issue, IPOB, security operatives here and there every single day. So a lot of comments on Twitter that I get to see, people are like, do these people actually realize that they are fighting their own?
You see,
very good question.
Yes.
The fact remains, when there's going to be fight, you in most cases you start fight with your own, but that's not the in thing now.
Okay.
One major responsibility or quality of leadership is accepting responsibility for everything that happens on that. This is something gone too far. Gone too far. That video of that soldier, that army guy, and the woman, it keeps playing over in my head all the time. And the fact that we could hear voices, fine, we couldn't see the face of the perpetrators. Is Nigeria so backward technologically that can be traced? That video originated from somewhere. And I want to believe that this our WhatsApp, for instance, the first postee can always be traced. So the only reasons why I think the only reason these things keep happening is simply because it's political. Otherwise, I don't think, because the effrontery of those guys is building up by the day. It's getting higher by the day. So I'll blame it all on leadership, Esther.
Leadership, there we go again.
Yes.
Is there a specific reason why they have to sit at home?
Now, this is just all mind games with probably a bigger end in mind. The fact that and everybody sits at home, and power, once you have it, can be exploited further. And the funny thing about power is power can be very destructive. I mean, if it were authority, authority has its checks and balances, but power in the wrong hands can be very destructive, and that's what we are seeing.
Sure.
And the fact that they've been building this power over time, that's why you see them getting bolder by the day. You understand? I mean, there was a time that these guys at the sight of police would click to their heels, but now they are even the one going to the police barracks, to the police stations. You understand what I mean? To the police formations. So leadership.
But to an extent, I tend to wonder what the agitations of IPOB are, and is it just about this thing of let us go?
Secession.
Is it
Actually,
just that?
you just spoke my mind. Because
Like
if
I
it
told
is
you.
about secession, why are we torturing our own people? To be a part
Like I told you,
of our
I
new
said something
states.
earlier. In most cases, insurgencies are political in every country. Let's start with the genesis of these guys. How do they get their ammunitions? There's always a sponsor.
Definitely.
Who is the sponsor? I'm not really, it's fair that you and I can answer that. But the reason for intelligence gathering is for stuff like this.
Yes, to answer some of these questions.
To answer these questions. And are you now saying for almost a decade, for years, we just can't get the sponsor of this?
I mean, everybody's pointing fingers at Nnamdi Kanu, and it's
Of
looking
course,
like
the fact remains, this is
it's
beyond,
looking like
I mean,
he's the face of the
Nnamdi
But
Kanu
it's obvious
is
that
just,
he's just
I mean,
not. He
Nnamdi
can't be
Kanu
the only person. Obviously.
He's been in incarceration for how long? So
how?
So even Nnamdi Kanu is really the head, that means the government is still deceiving us. If he's the one that is giving instructions from where he is, how is the instruction? I mean, so all those things are political. Nigerians, until you take your destiny in your hand at the polls.
But wait, when you say take your destiny is in your hand, so the point is, for example, I live in Imo State. Today somebody comes out holding rifles and different things, asking me in any way or anything. You keep me in the house like that. People, even when people go out, they live in fear. So how am I taking my destiny?
And even when it's time for election, because as you said, that power can be destructive. So if you can tell me to go home and I will go home, if we're taking elections, you will put that rifle in my face and tell me if you vote for this person, you won't have to sit at home anymore. This will end.
During this last concluded election, these guys actually came out and said they are dropping their arms for the election to vote, and the election was relatively a peaceful one. I mean, these are guys fighting for secession, right? And then for election to continue in the same government, they drop their arms.
Contrary
for that 1 week.
A huge contradiction.
You get what I'm saying? Recently, I saw a video trending on the social media where this IPOD guys went to the market to give instructions of sit at home. And people in the market were actually hailing them.
Clapping and hailing them.
Yes, I'm very sure. I mean, And do you know what that means? And that's why I always said the reason IPOB is the way it is over there right now is simply out of two reasons. Three reasons. The government has failed the people, and the people no longer trust the government. The people are afraid of IPOB, and knows that the government can't save them from IPOB, and that's why they stay at home, or they are in solidarity
with IPOB.
That's
I actually think the first two options, I think most people already are in that train of thought. The third one, I think because of the first two, as a result of the first two, they seem to not now have a choice than to be in solidarity. So the third one is like a cause and effect situation of the first two, but it still doesn't change the fact that we're torturing our own. You're taking away livelihoods. You're taking away means of income.
How can you
for
say
people.
You're fighting for your family, and
then you starve your family in the process?
You ruin
your family's future in the process. It makes literally no sense. I don't see, because if you're saying we're fighting for secession, that means we're fighting for us. We're fighting for us against the outside forces, not we're fighting internally. Because this honestly doesn't make any sense. As they keep saying agitations, it still doesn't make any rational sense.
Let's take some of your messages here. I see the phone lines buzzing. Please kindly note that we do not take calls on the newspaper review, just text and WhatsApp messages only. Text and WhatsApp messages only on 070 317 56537. 070 317 56537. Text and WhatsApp messages only. This one is from Bola in Shagama. This one says, Ahmed Idris, I found 80 billion naira and we are laughing about it, doing nothing. Imagine the kind of people we have in governance today. Quite sad. Another message here is from Additional Wasuniko, and it says, good morning to you. On Deborah's mother, it is rather unfortunate that almost 35 lawyers and professor of the law want to stand for the two suspects to defend them. But my worry is, can the magistrate court entertain murder case? I don't think the way we feel in the southern part of Nigeria on this case is the same as what they feel in the northern part of Nigeria. God bless Nigeria. This message here is from Musenja Muti in Lakbere, and this one says, good morning, dear presenter. Good morning to you. The Nigerian students should be called to caution before we have another repeat of the NSAS protest to battle with. Instead of blocking roads and making life unbearable for their parents who know nothing about the strike, they should go and occupy the National Assembly, government offices, and government establishments. That is the only way the government can feel the heat. Nigerians don't always learn from their mistakes. Another message here from Musenja Steel. He says 80 billion naira mismanaged under this present administration. If there is any hope of redemption for this country, it is definitely not coming from the two major political parties in this country, or anyone who has held one office or the other since 1960. Until Nigerians know this, there will be no mismanagement of the national resources. Nigeria phone lines buzzing. Please send us a text or a WhatsApp message on 070 317 56537. 070 317 56537. Another message: justifiable regard to fear and keep their 7 children out of school. This will mean them caving into the wishes of these criminals, but they should instead choose on where to send their children to school going forward. May the good Lord strengthen and protect Deborah's family today and always, and rest her soul. I have a question on that. Their children would attend. I'll come back to that. Okay. Raised recently about the current governor of Virginia that he was involved in credit card fraud in US, and the person behind the story is being detained without being charged to court, says a lot about the allegation. It is in Nigeria that ex-convicts are in elective offices or in higher political office, because it's alleged that the current Speaker of the House of Representatives of funds belonging to his client while practicing law in the US, and the case was dragged up to Georgia Supreme Court, and his conviction was processed. We still have more messages here, but forget this particular comment actually mean that it cannot happen in another state tomorrow.
That's more the point. That's actually more the point. Because the truth of the matter is, as long as it's still receiving education in the north, as long as these children are still receiving education in the north, there are high chances that this will still happen in whatever school that they go to. It's highly probable that this would happen. But if you now say send your children to school in the south, now the parents who live in the north are thinking, if this happened to Deborah in this same north where we live, how much more, and we couldn't do anything about it, how much more sending you to the south where we don't even know what will happen. We don't live with you. We can't do anything about it. It's a terrible situation, and it's like a lose-lose situation. And how you really look at it,
it's traumatic for them.
Okay,
it's traumatic for them, and I want to believe they're going to come out of that shock because
my heart goes out to them.
The fact remains, in the north, that family is not safe, considering how we know them to have been operating. It's quite funny that I was reading somewhere yesterday that those two guys had 34 lawyers representing them.
Yes, it's on the headline.
34 lawyers. Who is paying those lawyers?
Senior lawyers.
My God. So, I mean, it just tells you so much about the contraption called Nigeria. Look, I mean, 34 lawyers. There are people being taken to court every day. Probably an allegation of stealing a phone.
With no one to defend them.
And then we have 34 lawyers
in defense of a set of people who beat and burned somebody alive.
Suspected murder.
I mean, look at it from this perspective. This is a public school we are talking about. So it means the parents of those guys are not rich. If they were rich, they would have probably gone to the private universities.
100 lawyers.
You understand? No, they would have gone to private universities.
If they value education that much.
Exactly. So that just goes to tell you, it's not even their parents defending them. It's some people said something about it on Twitter.
Only to delete it.
Brought it down. I mean,
a lot be happening. We still have more messages here, and this one here is from Israel in Ugiju, and it says, "Good morning, WFM crew. Good morning to you." It says the ASU strike is meaningless to get issue or car route or something. Buhari will be more brutal in using all of the machineries involved to ensure that it is settled. Again, I pity all senators and those in the House of Representatives from the East, West, and the South. Here is my reason. The North is aware that these zones are more wiser due to educational knowledge acquired. So they must weaken educational power in these zones to make more almajiris and subject them to oppressive lifestyle with no one questioning them. I wish some of these principal officers in the National Assembly will face life the most. Most of our soldiers face with their life in Sambisa Forest without seeing daylight. Only then will they realize. Additional Wasuni Kodu says, for us to put this country on the path of progress, we need to go back to the parliamentary system of government, or do the true federalism system of government. The current system of government we're using right now is not working for us. Politicians are using the opportunity to loot the country dry. We are not making any progress as a nation. Nigerians are just going backwards, and our population keeps growing without control. It is better we do the needful